Audra Yankton, empowerment and intuition coach, and this is Unveil You, the podcast where spirituality meets practicality to help you step fully into your power. Each episode, we'll talk about what it really means to align with your higher self, trust your inner knowing, and walk through life with grounded, soul-led confidence. Let's get into it. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the Unveil You podcast. I'm your host, Audra, and today we're exploring a topic that has fascinated science fiction writers and spiritual seekers alike. I'm talking about timeline jumping, and also known as quantum leaping. This is kind of a taboo subject, just depending on where you are in your spiritual journey. And as I was going through my spiritual awakening process and learning more about just how energy works and consciousness and all sorts of things, I found that there are no real credible sources out there to break this stuff down. I kind of just stitched together a lot of Reddit threads and YouTube videos and all of that kind of hinted around at the same thing. I know there's kind of some maybe even CIA files that talk about this kind of stuff. It's true. It's kind of a real thing, but it's like little is known about it in a very surefire way. So I thought, why not? I'll just share here what I know and what I have personally experienced to hopefully give it some legitimacy and help you all understand a little bit what timeline jumping or quantum leaping is. So if you've ever watched the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Matrix, or Back to the Future, you've seen versions of this idea. So basically it's someone wakes up in another reality, sometimes by accident and sometimes on purpose, and then suddenly everything's different, like their surroundings, their relationships, even who they are. And while the movies dramatize it with portals and parallel worlds, the truth is they're not entirely wrong with this concept. So you can jump timelines, just not the way that Hollywood is showing you. There's no time machine, there's no multiverse remote. The real portal is your consciousness, which is your thoughts, your emotion, and your vibration. And by vibration, I mean your energetic frequency. So every time you shift your frequency, you shift your reality. And the crazy part is you've been doing this your entire life, unconsciously. Today, we're going to talk about what it really means to leap into a new timeline, why some jumps are instant and others take months to stabilize, what the highs and lows of this look like, and how to stay grounded when your reality starts glitching, especially for the big ones. And yes, I will share a personal story of a recent leap that was so bizarre and synchronistic that it reminded me once again just how fluid reality really is. I'm not kidding you. I only saw quantum leaping as a concept of like science fiction until I went through something so undeniable that I was like, okay, I guess there's something to this. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before I go any further, I want to slow down and define what I actually mean when I say the word timeline. I know I've said this word before and people are like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like the old Facebook timelines or, what does that mean? No, a timeline is simply the path your life is moving along based on your current beliefs, emotional patterns, and the choices you're making day to day. So, if there's like an infinite amount of versions of you alive all at once, and just imagine that the one that is like your brain is working on, you could say, or your consciousness is turned on to, that's just the current timeline that you're on. And there are some that are lower frequency, some that are higher frequency. When you quantum leap, what I've been told and what I understand is you can only move upwards. So every time you do this, you can't go backwards into a worse reality than what you're already living. You can only go forward. So that's the good thing is when you start, intentionally doing this stuff, you can only go forward. So here's the part that expands it a little more is, again, there isn't just one possible path you could go on. There are many potential versions of your life, again, available at the same time to you. So you can think of them as parallel realities or timelines, not in like a sci-fi way, but as different outcomes that already exist as a potential. So like if you want to be a rich girl, like rich girl version of you already exists on a different timeline. It's just how are you going to access her? How are you going to intentionally shift your reality so that you can become her? As an example, who's the version of you that's married if you're looking for partnership with like a good partner, somebody that is marriage material. Like that version of you exists out there. You just have to find her. You know what I mean? So reality works I liken it to a radio dial. All the stations already exist. It's like, say your brain is a radio dial. You just only hear the one that you're tuned into, similarly to when you're in your car and you've got all of these radio stations playing music all at once, but you only hear the one that you are actually physically turned into with your radio dial. So your consciousness is that radio dial. It's what determines what station you're listening to. So when we talk about timeline jumping, we're not talking about creating something out of thin air or forcing the future to change overnight. We're talking about a true shifting of your consciousness. So this is how you see yourself, what you believe is possible for you, and what you expect out of life. That's the big thing, is what do you expect will happen is the thing that will happen. There's lots and lots of research and books that do support that, of just the power of visualization and the power of eliminating limiting beliefs and just shifting the way that you see things and what you expect the outcome to be. Like, think about it. How many times have you thought this bad thing will happen when you go do something and the bad thing actually happens, versus when you go in to do something that maybe you're an expert at and you're like, this will go perfectly, and it goes perfectly every time? It's because you expect it to go perfectly is why it's going perfectly. So when that shift for you happens, where you realize you can start to like train your brain to think differently, you naturally begin responding differently and making different choices and noticing different opportunities that start to present themselves to you, that the universe starts to put on your path. So over time, that's what places you on a different timeline. So nothing new has to be created. It's just you're simply becoming conscious of a different reality that was already available to you. This didn't just come out of thin air. It already existed, and you just tuned your reality into it. So movies and Hollywood love to make this very flashy, like a lightning bolt comes out of nowhere, or a wormhole, or like this sudden shift of scenery. But in real life, timeline jumping is subtle. I mean, that's crazy. Like, we don't just like close our eyes and open them 30 seconds later and we're like in a different country. Like, that's not how this works. It's got to be subtle enough to where the 3D reality can actually catch up with, like, your mindset shift can be instantaneous and your consciousness can shift to a new timeline instantaneously, but the 3D world takes time to catch up to wherever your consciousness just moved into. So it's an energetic recalibration, right? It's not this cinematic explosion. Your consciousness will shift internally before your physical reality will look any different at all. And every possible version of you, the confident one, the fulfilled one, the healed one, already exists in the quantum field. So when your vibration matches the frequency of that version that you're trying to call in, reality starts to rearrange to reflect it. So, I mean, when you're doing energy work and things like that, like, you want to heal all sorts of things that maybe you're holding on to energetically, or you want to lose weight, or, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to do, it all works exactly like this. Most people don't label it as quantum leaping or timeline jumping, but that's exactly what it is. It's you're shifting your world around you. You're jumping into a new timeline. That's literally what you're doing. So you don't need a DeLorean or a superhero portal. Like, it's literally our birthright. We all have this ability. It's just whether or not you know how to intentionally do it. Because like I said, we all unintentionally do this all the time when we make new choices to better ourselves. Like, maybe you're in a toxic relationship. Why is it that one day you just wake up and you're like, I think I want to end this? And then you break up and you move on, and like your life goes better because of it. Like, that's just one example of many of how you jump timelines. Like, when you did that, you acted differently than you did the day before you broke up with the person that was in your relationship with you. But it was like, why, like, the one day you decided to act differently was the day you shifted timelines. So that's just a very simple example of how we're doing this every single day. Again, you don't need these like cinematic things. You just need energetic coherence. So it's when your thoughts, emotions, and self-concept align around who you are truly becoming. Think of it like a radio station. Okay, so again, going back to this radio station analogy I was using, you don't create the signal, you tune into it. We're not creating out of thin air. This already exists and you're just tuning into it. So the clearer your frequency, the cleaner the transmission of your new timeline will be. So that's what's happening when you quantum leap. You're tuning into the reality where your higher self already exists and life reorganizes eventually, like sometimes quickly, sometimes slower, and reorganizes to meet you there. So how do we jump? Because obviously this is really fascinating. It's like, wow, if I could change my life overnight, why have I not been doing this already? So how do we do this? Again, you've been jumping timelines since the day you were born. And every time you release an old story or heal something painful or make a decision that honors your truth, the truth of what your soul is and who it came up here to this planet to be, you leap. And most people are doing this without realizing, and they react to circumstances and they call it life just happening. But when you start doing this intentionally, you're collapsing time. So you start to create from identity instead of waiting for the proof. And that's the real difference, is when you embody the energy of who you want to become before it's visible in your reality, you magnetize the experiences that confirm it. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but you have to act as the person that you're trying to become as though you already are that person, even if it doesn't look any different. You just have to start acting as the version of you that you want to become. And the universe will energetically just start magnetizing the things that match it in the physical world to you. So it's not delusion. It's quantum alignment. It's literally science. It's crazy. So the tools that help with this are things like meditation, journaling, EFT, or tapping, which we'll talk about. I keep saying this. It will come out in a future episode. I promise. Gratitude practice, something we've talked about before. A really powerful thing that I've been doing more and more all the time, and it works phenomenally, is just intentional high quality visualizations where you don't visualize the how you're getting places. You just visualize the version of you that has all the things that you already want, and imagine the emotions that come with that. That is a very powerful tool to use. And these are just simply frequency regulators. So they train your nervous system to feel safe holding these higher vibrations so that you don't revert to the old version of you. Because as counterintuitive as it sounds, is sometimes if you waved a magic wand today and you got everything you think you wanted right now, but you weren't maybe energetically healed in a way that you could support that, they would come out, or they'd leave you just as quickly as they came to you. So your nervous system has to feel safe holding the things that you're trying to call in. Otherwise, you'll just go back to your old self and your old ways, and nothing will stick. And that's something we're going to talk about a little bit more as to why sometimes the timeline jumping process is very highs and lows, up and down, like waves in an ocean. It's a lot of when it's literally like going through an energetic expansion. That's like quantum leaping isn't always just manifesting things in the physical. Sometimes it's like soul expansion or energy expansion. Because that has to happen first before you can get some of the things you're calling into your physical. Because, I mean, if you're wanting like a billionaire lifestyle and you think you need $1 billion, but you have no idea how to be responsible with money, like for example, like that will leave you as soon as it comes to you. Like, how many times have we heard of like the broke family winning the lottery and they go and spend all the money within the first year and they're back to living the same exact lifestyle they were living before? Like, that's not coincidence. It's because their frequency wasn't like attuned to like holding that kind of energy, in that case, money. So yeah, it's just really important that you have your energy field tuned up and ready to go. Otherwise it's difficult for the universe to kind of deliver you the things that you're asking for. So you can't leap from fear. That being said, you leap from faith. And when faith becomes your default, life starts mirroring these miracles for you. And it's pretty amazing. So let's talk about what it actually feels like to quantum leap, because as cool as it sounds, it's not all glitter and angel numbers and rainbows, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just like anything in life, there's darkness and light to everything. So when you're expanding your consciousness, when you're, leaping to this higher timeline, there's this high, and like you feel alive and guided and unstoppable, and you get synchronicities everywhere from the universe, like your 111s and 888s and all this stuff. And you feel like the universe is conspiring in your favor, and it absolutely is. And it's really exciting because it's like, oh my gosh, I believe in all this stuff, and like I just haven't had the physical proof of it, and I have it all of a sudden. It's like a really exciting thing. But then comes this dip that I think that's what I try to do a lot of research on. Like when I was going through a quantum leap before, was like, why am I, with this high, why do I feel so low? I'm going to call it energetic whiplash, because again, you can't have the highs without the lows. So this is where you'll suddenly be tired or emotional, or you'll doubt everything. You like, maybe I didn't even quantum leap. That probably isn't even real. I don't know what I'm talking about. I sound like a crazy person. But you have to understand that the leap actually did happen energetically, but it's like your body and your mind are still recalibrating. Like, we're energetic beings, but our bodies are still physical and biological. So like our consciousness can shift immediately, but like our bodies have to like integrate that and like shift, and it takes time. Like, babies aren't just like thought of and born in an instant. Like, think about just the creation process. Like, we're physical, biological beings. Like, everything that happens to us, we have to like integrate, and it's almost like a healing process, you could say. It's absolutely essential to the quantum leap process. So if, honestly, if you think you've quantum leapt, but you're not sure because you're having like maybe some depressive episodes, or you're just doubting everything, or you're super emotional, that's probably actually a sign that you have quantum leapt and you're just in one of those valleys rather than a peak. So hang in there, So I'm going to talk about a real life example of the craziest thing that it's really subtle, but one of the most telling things ever that I feel like definitely was my confirmation that I needed. Like, as a scientist, I like to have proof of stuff. And this was definitely the universe kind of giving me throwing a joke in my face a little bit of like, deny this, So this was a few months ago. My husband and I were making a really long trip back to our hometown, and we're going to visit family. It's a 10-hour drive from where we live. So my husband's the kind of guy that he never takes his wedding ring off, like, ever. He is like, just, if it's not on, he notices right away. It's just part of him at this point. He feels naked without it. So this detail matters. So hang in there, hang in there with me. Anyway, we're about 6 hours into this drive. So about, a little past the midway point. And we go into this gas station in the middle of Wyoming, and he washed his hands. And this has happened to him before at work, is how we know, like, this is probably what happened. Was it's just loose enough that if he's not careful, that a paper towel can pull it off if his hands are still wet. So unfortunately, he was washing his hands at this gas station and went to dry his hands, and unknowingly like threw the ring away. And we were probably 10 minutes down the road, and all of a sudden he freaks out because he was driving. He drove the whole time. So his hands were literally right in front of his face. Like, he would have noticed in an instant at some point in the 6 hours before this point if the ring wasn't on his finger, because like I said, it's part of him. It'd be like if I wasn't wearing my wedding ring. Like, it's literally like my finger is dented up where the ring is. So like, I would know in an instant if I wasn't wearing my ring. It just makes your hand feel lighter when you've been married so long. So anyway, he knew within 15 minutes of leaving that gas station, oh my God, I think I threw my ring away. Oh no. And here's the thing, is like, it was one of those like trucker style gas stations with like all sorts of big, huge trash cans, and like, we were not going to find this ring. It was a really unfortunate situation, but we looked at each other and we're like, yeah, we're not finding that ring. That sucks. So anyway, we go about our business. He's pretty down about it. And in my head, I was just kind of like, for whatever reason, like, not worried about it. I'm like, okay, we'll just replace it, or I don't know, maybe it'll show back up weirdly. Who knows? It was weird. And so it was probably like 4 days later, we get back home to Utah, and I was taking a shower the next day after we got back. Like, we'd been home for a while. And I get out of the shower and I look at our bathroom counter, and his ring was sitting right there. His wedding ring was right on the bathroom counter. So he didn't notice it the night before. Neither did I. Like, it had been a whole 24 hours we'd been home, and his ring was literally sitting on the bathroom counter. Like, no one had been there. It was crazy. So it was almost like, what? Did this teleport? Like, what's the deal here? It was so bizarre. So I brought it downstairs to him, and I put it on his finger, and we were just silent and in disbelief, because like, and my husband's extremely skeptical. Like, I'm a skeptic. He is like next level skeptic. So like, the fact that this got him was like, you know that something weird is going on there. And it wasn't a scary feeling though. It was just like very affirming because I could feel it and he could feel it too. It's like this quantum leap had just anchored in that moment. Because I remember I was home and I was like, I'm not going to get into details, but like I was drawing boundaries with family that like I normally just kind of are more passive about, or I might like play into it and act as like a lesser version of myself and like fight with people or whatever. And that trip in specific, like he loses the ring, we go home. I started like acting as like a different version of myself that respected myself more, maybe than a past version of myself, just as like a subtle like difference, I guess, and like example of how I was acting differently. And then it was like, that was me acting as a better version of myself, a higher version of myself. And like, there was the proof. The ring was just sitting on the counter. We'd been shifting timelines for weeks though. Like I could feel it. Like things were just constantly like disorienting. And I was like, every time I got used to the way things were, it seemed like things were changing again. Like it was just a really weird time we were going through. And, like for our energy and our relationship too, like my husband and I have like gotten so much stronger over the last year. Like we've always been each other's best friend, but it's just like the last year we've just really anchored in this like very strong relationship and things like in that way have been going really well. And that moment of seeing the ring on the counter was the physical confirmation. So then within the other crazy thing was if you listen to my home numerology episode, you'll hear the crazy story about how divinely timed that situation seemed to be. It was like we get back, the ring is sitting on the counter, and we end up moving into a new house within like a month of that. It was literally less than a month later. It wasn't even on our mind at the time of like this ring coming back to us, like that we were going to move. But here we were moving all of a sudden to like a new, bigger, better, cleaner home. And it was really, really crazy. So that was my physical starting to rearrange around me. And honestly, it just makes me really excited about like the next few months now of like, okay, if my home could change that fast, like what else could change? And yeah, I had to take aligned action and stuff, but it was like the way things were working out was like way too crazy for it to just be coincidence, like I can go and like try to like move into a new house, but how many times do people want to like apply to rent like a new place that a lot of people are trying to get into? And like, I'm the one that happened to get the house and I barely put any effort into it. Like it's pretty crazy. So, it's the universe just reminding us that matter rearranges to match your frequency. And sometimes it really defies logic. Like as much as my science brain wants to explain this away, I've done this many times. Like there's lots of times where I've had proof of quantum leaps. Like on my work commute, like things will look different sometimes and I'm just like, excuse it away. Well, this was the universe literally throwing a ring in my face, basically being like, explain that. and I couldn't, and neither could my husband. So it was pretty wild. But yeah, it's that's what integration looks like. Again, it's the highs with the lows. And it's not always convenient or clean, but it's always meaningful. Like, I mean, after this quantum leap, it's like I kind of went through a period of like, lots of tears and just like burnout and things like that. And I ended up taking a break and from my business and some other like, basically I just kind of chilled for 2 months. Like I did my day job and everything, but I was like, I'm not doing anything right now. And it was like the physical break that my body needed to just like integrate into this like new life that we have basically. So anyway, I'm very much excited to see what else this new timeline has in store for me. So anyway, I want to talk about timing on leaps because this is where some people can get really frustrated. And some leaps happen instantly. Like you change a belief, you forgive someone, and it's like reality snaps into alignment overnight. And that's a light energetic leap, which is mostly internal to you. It doesn't really like impact like your surroundings and the physical things that you have. So that one can happen pretty instantaneously. But there's other times that the leap can take months. And like I said, the consciousness shift, their consciousness can shift immediately, like in a snap of a finger, but the matter moves slower than the energy. So that's why sometimes people get frustrated. They quantum leap. They feel like a fish out of water. They're like, this life doesn't match me anymore, and I'm angry, and this sucks. And it's just because like the physical reality is taking time to catch up. So big shifts, like things like new careers or relationships or relocating or healing really deep trauma, these require your external systems to also reorganize, which on a 3D planet such as Earth that we live on, it just takes time. So think of it like a phone update. You got the new operating system ready, but your device has to download and reboot before it runs smoothly. So think of that reboot time as like, when I was going through this most recent quantum leap, for example, there was a definite period of rebooting where it was probably 2 to 3 weeks, honestly, where I was just like, I don't want to say dead inside, but kind of. I was just like, I got no drive. It feels like something's installing in my brain, and I can't really put my finger on it, but I'm just going to chill. And I never give myself permission to do that. And it worked out really well for me. You know, it's not good to just be lazy all year or anything like that. And I shouldn't call myself lazy, but you know what I mean? Like for someone who's a go-getter like myself, it feels like you're being lazy when you don't do anything for like a month. But at the same time, it's just like having the awareness of what you're going through so that you give yourself the physical space and time to integrate shifts. It's like only going to make things go faster for you in the long run. It's counterintuitive, but that's how it works. So the bigger the leap, or the more huge, I guess, the bigger the things that you're trying to change in your reality, this creates, more capacity, or the bigger the leap, the more capacity your nervous system needs to hold this new frequency. So if your manifestation is feeling delayed, it's not resistance, it's refinement. Because you're expanding your energetic container to sustain the new timeline. So, like, if you're, I'm not saying some people can't manifest, like, a millionaire lifestyle in, like, no time. Like, we see that all the time where some people are, like, homeless and, like, an influencer, and then the next day they're able to buy, like, the mansion of their dreams because things just work out. Like, that happens for some people. But for most people, that's not really how that works. Like, you kind of put in your little micro actions day by day, and you hold the faith that things are changing. Eventually, your reality really will change to match your dreams. You just have to believe it will. And if there's something in you that doesn't believe that it will, that's called a limiting belief. And that's something we've talked about on this podcast before, and you can Google it if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, is if you, for whatever reason, don't believe that you can have the dream life that you're trying to call in, that's like, I mean, frankly, it's a you problem as far as like you've been conditioned to think that way. And all you have to do is condition yourself out of that way of thinking. And then you can literally call in anything you want. I mean, this is like physical things, yes, like money or home or a car or something like that. But it's also like, do you want to be like a boss? Do you want to be like a leader at your company? Like things that money can't buy necessarily? Like you can call that in too, but you have to believe that you can become those things. And then your reality starts shifting. It's really, really cool. But you have to be really honest with yourself with where you're at, or it won't work. So trust the pacing of each leap. You don't need to chase the next version of you, because you have to trust that it's already unfolding. And just because your consciousness has shifted realities doesn't mean the physical reality has yet. Again, I'm really underscoring this because it's like, seriously, you'll leap, your brain will feel completely different, but nothing else is different around you because it takes time. And that's really the time where it's super important to hold the faith. So it's just the theme, again, of living on a 3D planet. It's not fun sometimes when you're impatient, but it is what it is. That's what we're dealing with energetically down here. So let's talk a little bit then about the weird stuff that happens when you quantum leap, because it's not all just consciousness and hoping that you get the stuff that you're calling in. This is kind of more of the Hollywood side of the way things look. Is that so you're in the middle of a leap and you might notice little glitches, and like you misplace things, or like, oh, I swore I gave this person her keys back, and look, her keys are back on my counter. Or your husband loses a wedding ring and it shows up back on your counter. Like that kind of thing. People remember conversations differently. That's how I know I have been going through quantum leaps most of my life, is like I have very distinct memories of like something that happened in middle school, for example, or like something funny that happened that's like, I wouldn't have just made this up. And you go to like kind of talk to the person that you have that memory with. And it's happened to me so many times where they were like, I don't remember that. That didn't happen. Or for example, when I turned 18, I took the piercing out, but I did get my belly button pierced when I was 18. And there's this girl that I knew that she saw that I got my belly button pierced. She's like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I'm going to go get my belly button pierced. And like, she told me that before she went and did it. And then she went and got her belly button pierced. And then years later, I ran into her and we were just talking. We were talking about piercings for whatever reason. And I was like, yeah, I took my belly button ring out. I didn't like it anymore. And she was like, oh, well, Audra, I didn't realize you ever had your belly button pierced. And I was like, what? Like, we talked about, like, the reason you got yours pierced, like, we literally had this conversation was because you said to me that you liked mine and you were going to go, it was just crazy, you guys. So it's like that kind of stuff. It seems like maybe I'm crazy, but also it's like, yeah, maybe you're not very good at remembering stuff. Let's be honest, we're human. But not every single time can it be like you're just really horrible at remembering stuff. If like you have a really distinct memory imprinted on your brain and somebody else that should definitely also remember that is not like corroborating that, or they're like, that didn't happen, and they have like no emotional reason to deny it or something, it's kind of like, what happened here? That's probably because that's in a timeline that you're not in anymore. That occurred in a timeline that you literally don't exist in, which makes sense because when I think about the reason I took my belly button ring out, I was like, I turned like 22 one day and I was like, what the heck am I hate this. This isn't part of me anymore. It was because I was like literally a different person in a different timeline and the belly button ring didn't fit anymore. So I took it out. So anyway, it's really funny how that works out. But, so that's an example of like people remembering conversations differently. Another example is, you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and you feel like you're just seeing someone new. Like you might look at yourself and be like, oh, I don't remember, like, oh, I really like that about me. I didn't notice that before. Or like, this has also happened to me where like a building you swear was not on your daily work commute is suddenly there, or maybe it's a different color than you recall. Like I remember one day after this ring thing, actually, I was the next time I drove to work, there was like a building that had been repainted along with a couple of road signs that were different than they were before. And is it true that that could have happened like just routinely? Of course it is. But like all at the same time, these two unrelated road signs in this building was painted differently. Like I drive past these things every single day. Like it's pretty crazy in the same weekend, like they got redone. So anyway, again, it's like, you're not crazy. Like some of this stuff really is like, you just shifted a timeline. It's pretty nuts. And this isn't madness. It's just decoherence. And your consciousness is just detaching from one reality and it's sinking into another. And sometimes you'll experience like these deja vu like things, like maybe duplicates of something random where it shouldn't be. Like I've walked into a gas station before and seen two people unrelated to each other, like dressed exactly the same, like the same striped shirt and jeans and like red scarf. And it's like, that's so random. Like, you kind of laugh it off, but then you kind of like think back and you're like, huh, like what? Like I remember I was driving my car and like an identical one drove up right next to me. Like in this song on my radio called Deja Vu literally started playing and I'm like, this is cinematic. This is nuts. So anyway, that's part of just literally timelines. I guess the reason this happens, I'll get to that now, is that the old timeline will literally like zip in with the new one, or some people call this like collapsing of the timeline. So things can get a little crazy during this time and you feel a little nuts. But pop culture calls this a glitch in the matrix. We've all heard that saying before. But I call it proof. It's just the proof that something actually shifted. Like your consciousness literally shifted. And your physical reality is just kind of going a little haywire while the two timelines kind of like integrate in together. So it's a really cool time. And it's proof that your vibration is rewriting its story in real time. So instead of doubting it or feeling crazy, just smile and just be like, oh yeah, the update's installing, cool. And just like move on. Simply acknowledging it grounds the leap instead of resisting it, because it already happened. If you're going to resist it, it's just going to like slow everything down, and it's going to happen whether or not you want it to at that point, which you should always want it to, because again, you can only like get better from here. You can only leap into a higher timeline. You can never go backwards. So why wouldn't you just want to participate, right? Or just don't fight it. It is what it is. So finally, how can you anchor your new timeline? Like rather than freak out and like go haywire, like how can you just like anchor it in and have it become your new reality? So here's how you can stabilize. It's grounding through your body is huge. This is something I took up more and more at the end of last year, and I'm still doing most days. If sometimes I forget to, but this is something as simple as walking, stretching, breathing, working out. look like your body as your stabilizer. That's important. So I would suggest, if you've never done a grounding meditation before, to look one up, or simply a grounding meditation I use that takes less than a minute is you can close your eyes and you imagine roots going through the bottom of your feet and anchoring all the way down to the core of the earth. Like imagine seeing these roots grow from the bottoms of your feet, going down through every single layer of the soil and anchoring to the core of the earth. Works really well, and it can take you from, because sometimes going through a leap, you can feel like in your head, like kind of dizzy and disoriented, like that will take care of that. It really helps it just grounds you down to the planet, because it's just kind of a crazy process. Another thing that someone told me to do that also works well is like just grabbing a handful of salt and like washing your hands with that. That's a good way to kind of clean your energy and ground yourself. So those are some things you can do to ground. Another thing you need to do is regulate your nervous system. So that is maybe you're having a panic attack about something. Do some tapping or some EFT if you're familiar with what that is. Do some breath work, take a salt bath, like anything that helps you feel safe in this expansion. Like go ahead and do that, because your nervous system is very confused. Like when they're like, what is happening? Nothing's the same right now. Like your nervous system needs a moment to kind of chill and like get rid of the negative energy it might be holding on to. Because you might be going through a lot of purges too during this time. Like I remember I also immediately after the leap, I was having like crazy dreams of like everything that every chakra governs. You could tell it was like starting in my crown, themes around things of that nature, all the way down to like my root chakra. I was starting to have dreams around like my sense of security and like money and stuff like that, like things being bad. And that's just nothing to be scared of. It's just like your body purging those out as like things that you no longer have to worry about anymore. Basically, they're just getting rid of these limiting belief systems for you. So regulating your nervous system though, super important. Another thing is like, if you're skeptic like myself, journal your proof. Like your journal is your best friend here. So write down the synchronicities that you see, write down any new opportunities you're getting, any emotional shifts that you're having, things that you're seeing, deja vu. It's evidence that your reality is responding. So it can really help you anchor the leap here. And then act as yourself as the new version of you in small but believable ways. So micro alignment is more powerful than forced action. So what do I mean by this? Basically ask yourself, what would this new version that you've called into your life that you now are, what would they act like or do? Like, and I don't mean go blow a bunch of money on, or go into debt for something because you're like, oh, well, I want to be a millionaire, so I'm going to go buy a private jet. Like, no, I don't mean go do that. I just mean maybe this version of you, like, stands up for yourself instead of acting passive when someone's treating you poorly. Maybe you're breaking cycles in that way. Or maybe you do want a beautiful new home. Take a drive through your dream neighborhood and imagine yourself like actually being a resident of that neighborhood. As long as you don't like park and walk up to someone's home, I'm not condoning that. Just like get your inspiration, like start like being around the luxurious things you're trying to like call into your life. That's really helpful too. It really helps. Like, again, visualization is really important here. It'll be different for everyone depending on why you quantum leapt in the first place. Like some people have emotional goals, some people have like physical, like material goals, like it just, whatever it is, like act as a new version of yourself and like, what would this person do? And then finally integrate, which is the big lesson I had to learn this last time, which is rest and trust the process. So integration is not laziness. It is necessary for quantum sustainability. So don't be hard on yourself here. We're only human, and humans can only do so much, and we can only take so much. Like energy is instant and it's infinite. Our bodies are not. Like we need help. We need to rest and anchor and just accept what we are for what we are. So what is one thing you can do today to start your journey towards your next intentional quantum leap or timeline leap? I would just start simply with journaling. Title it "A Day in My New Timeline" or something of that nature. And describe your life as if the shift has already fully happened. So how do you feel? What things do you see? What's different? Like, what emotions are you having? And then tomorrow, take one action that the new version of you would naturally take. So that's how energy becomes embodiment. And as Mike Dooley says in the book, Infinite Possibilities, thoughts become, material, like thoughts materialize. It's like literally universal law. Like if you think something and you believe it, it will literally come true, for better or worse. Don't forget that. So don't spend time thinking about the scary things or the bad things that could happen to you. If you're going to visualize anything, always make sure it's something better than how you're living right now. So here's your reminder. You don't have to find the portal. You are the portal. You literally are the portal to living your dream better life. And every time you choose authenticity over fear, alignment over obligation, or peace over panic, you shift timelines. It's like defying society sometimes. You just have to do what feels best for you, truly. And don't put anybody else like in your thoughts of like how they might feel about it or whatever. It's like what feels right for you, what feels aligned for you. Do that, and you're literally shifting timelines. And remember, you're not behind and you're not lost. You're always exactly on time where you're supposed to be. And you're simply integrating your next level of truth. So if this episode stirred something in you, or if you're in a season of transition or identity shift or visibility fears, or you feel like you're standing between an ending and a beginning and you don't really know what to do next, I would love to support you. I offer a complimentary 20-minute connection call where on that call we can explore what chapter you're in and how to move to the next one, what your soul is trying to unravel or expand, where your energy is going next, and how to step into the version of you who's waiting on the other side. And there's no pressure or agenda to this call. It's just a grounded, compassionate space to be seen. And you can book your call through the show, the link here in the show notes, or you can go to my website and check it out and book your call right there at unveilyou.co. And thank you so much for listening. And I hope you have a beautiful week and happy timeline hopping. Bye.